Today we're going to take a look back at Seinfeld, one of the most iconic sitcoms in television history. A show jokingly described as a show about nothing, yet it became a lasting part of the memories of millions of viewers around the world. Even more surprising, it has been more than 35 years since the first episode aired, and the lives of the cast today truly surprise many people. What happened after the stage lights faded may leave you stunned, so be sure to hit subscribe and join us as we explore where the stars of Seinfeld are now. Number 1. First, we certainly have to mention Jerry Seinfeld. Jerry Seinfeld is the calm center of a chaotic universe, a bachelor living in Manhattan, a comedian who observes life with a sarcastic eye, someone who can turn the smallest everyday situations from standing in line for soup to calling a girlfriend into endless jokes. When the series premiered in 1989, Seinfeld was 35 years old and played a fictionalized version of himself. Throughout 9 seasons with a total of 180 episodes, he was the only character to appear in every single episode, becoming the connecting thread of television's famous American show about nothing. Before this sitcom was created, Jerry Seinfeld was already a familiar face on the New York stand-up scene, frequently appearing on The Tonight Show and other major comedy programs since the early 1980s. But it was Seinfeld itself, created by him together with Larry David, that brought his career to the peak of popular culture. What many people still talk about is Seinfeld's bold decision. In 1998, he turned down NBC's offer of more than $100 million to produce a 10th season, choosing to end the series while it was still at the top of the ratings. Behind the television spotlight, his private life has remained fairly discreet. Seinfeld married Jessica Sklar in 1999 and has 3 children, and he is also famous for his enormous collection of vintage Porsche cars. Jerry Seinfeld is now 71 years old. He continues performing stand-up producing programs such as Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. His net worth in 2026 is estimated at $1 billion, and he is regarded as one of the richest, most successful, and most influential comedians in the history of American television, the man who turned nothing in particular into an immortal comedy legacy. Number 2. Next is Jason Alexander as George Costanza. George is the embodiment of all the anxieties, pettiness, and insecurities that people often try to hide a short-tempered, short-statured man who constantly looks for ways to avoid responsibility, yet is extremely intelligent in a deeply ironic way. With an energy that is both tragic and comedic, George became one of the most memorable sitcom characters in American television. Jason Alexander portrayed this role when he was about 29 years old. Before Seinfeld, Alexander had already established a solid presence on the Broadway stage. He won a Tony Award in 1989 for the musical Jerome Robbins's Broadway and was highly regarded in the theater world for both his acting and singing abilities. However, it was George Costanza, a character Larry David, partly based on his own personality, that made Alexander a familiar face to millions of television viewers. The role earned him 7 consecutive Emmy nominations for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Comedy Series. Behind the character who constantly fails on screen, Alexander's personal life has been surprisingly stable. He has been married to Dana E. Title since 1982 and has 2 sons, a rare, long-lasting marriage in the entertainment industry. After Seinfeld ended in 1998, Alexander continued working in theater, television, and voice acting. Now, at the age of 66, Jason Alexander has recently appeared in Young Sheldon, and although he has taken part in many other projects, George Costanza remains his greatest legacy. A character who makes audiences both laugh and recognize themselves in the awkward moments of everyday life. Number 3 is Wayne Knight as Newman the mailman, with a sly smile and calculating eyes. The archenemy of Jerry Seinfeld in the quirky comedic world of Seinfeld. Whenever the greeting, "Hello Newman," echoes, the audience knows a new problem is about to begin. Wayne Knight played Newman when he was 33 years old, first appearing on screen in 1992 and continuing to become a memorable supporting character in about 44 episodes through 1998. Before stepping into Seinfeld, Knight was still a relatively unknown supporting actor, mostly taking small roles on stage and television. It was the character of Newman, the lazy, scheming, yet extremely funny mailman, that turned him into a familiar face in popular culture. Around the same time, he also made a strong impression as Dennis Nedry in Jurassic Park 1993, proving that his appeal was not limited to sitcoms. Behind the laughter, Knight's life also had a notable turning point. While filming a running scene outdoors for Seinfeld, he experienced an unusually rapid heartbeat and was warned by doctors about the risks of obesity. That shock led him to lose more than 50 kilograms and change his lifestyle. Today, Wayne Knight is about 70 years old and still occasionally appears on screen and does voice acting for animated films. But for many audiences, his greatest legacy remains the image of Newman, the comically villainous neighbor who only needs to step into the frame to make the entire episode explode with laughter. Number 4. Heidi Swedberg as Susan Ross. Susan Ross entered the world of Seinfeld as a polite, slightly serious woman among Jerry's chaotic group of friends, and it was precisely that out-of-sync quality that made the character memorable. As George Costanza's fiancée Susan brought an energy that was both gentle and bewildered by George's ridiculous antics, and audiences still remember her most for the character's famously tragicomic ending. Heidi Swedberg took on the role when she was about 26 years old, first appearing in 1992, and ultimately showing up in 29 episodes of the series, mainly in seasons 4 and 7. Before Seinfeld, Swedberg was not yet a major face in Hollywood, but had quietly built her career with small roles in films such as In Country 1989, Kindergarten Cop, and Hot Shots, along with many television series including Matlock and Quantum Leap. However, it was Susan Ross that became the role audiences remembered her for. Behind the lights of sitcom fame, Swedberg's life took an unexpected turn. After many years of acting, she largely stepped away from Hollywood to pursue music, becoming a ukulele artist and music teacher. Swedberg married Philip Holohan in 1994 and had 2 daughters before the marriage ended in 2019. Now, at the age of 60, she lives a fairly private life, performing with the band Suki Jump and appearing at ukulele festivals, a quiet yet passionate path, very different from the tragicomic fate of Susan Ross on screen. Number 5. Next is John O'Hurley as J. Peterman. Jacopo J. Peterman is the eccentric catalog boss of the J. Peterman Company, a gentleman who speaks in flowery language as if reciting nomadic advertising poetry, always telling half-true, half-imagined adventure stories that leave the entire office both impressed and confused. The character first appeared in 1995 and quickly became one of the most memorable, quirky bosses in American sitcoms. When he took on the role, John O'Hurley was 40 years old and ultimately appeared in 20 episodes of the series from 1995 until the show ended in 1998. Before Seinfeld, O'Hurley was not an unfamiliar face on television, but mostly worked in soap operas such as Santa Barbara and Loving, and he had not yet truly become a major star. It was J. Peterman, with his speaking style reminiscent of a 1940s radio announcer, that brought him into popular culture and became the most distinctive mark of his career. What surprises many people is that after the show ended, real-life imitated Art O'Hurley invested in and became a co-owner of the real-life J. Peterman Company, the brand that inspired the character. Born in 1954 in Maine, he is now 71 years old and still active in entertainment, providing voice work for many animated films, and having hosted the show Family Feud. For Seinfeld fans, the greatest legacy of John O'Hurley remains the image of the storytelling nomadic-style boss, a supporting character unique enough to live on in television memory. Number 6. We have Patrick Warburton as David Puddy. David Puddy is the kind of character who can make audiences laugh with nothing more than a deadpan glance. He is a burly, soft-spoken mechanic who often sits with his arms folded in a strangely indifferent manner, and he is best known for his humorously on-again, off-again relationship with Elaine Benes. Patrick Warburton began playing the role in 1995 when he was 30 years old, first appearing in the season 6 episode The Fusilli Jerry, and later becoming a beloved guest star, appearing in a total of 10 episodes, all the way through the final season in 1998. Before Seinfeld, Warburton was simply a television actor trying to find his footing with small and supporting roles, even though he had appeared sporadically in several sitcoms in the early 1990s. It was Puddy, with his distinctive deep voice and charmingly blank demeanor, that became a major turning point, opening the door to many later opportunities such as The Tick Rules of Engagement and the voice role of Joe Swanson in Family Guy. Few people know that after his very first episode of Seinfeld, Warburton received a 6-page letter from his father expressing disappointment, believing the show was too bold. That awkward family story was later retold by Warburton himself with his signature sense of humor. Born in 1964 and now 61 years old, Warburton remains active in film, television, and voice acting. For Seinfeld fans, the image of Puddy with his expressionless face and the short line, "Yeah, that's right," remains one of the most unforgettable supporting characters of this legendary sitcom. Number 7. Bob Balaban as Russell Dalrymple. Russell Dalrymple is the kind of character that Seinfeld audiences remember instantly, the seemingly polite, slightly reserved president of NBC, who nonetheless radiates an odd mixture of awkwardness and peculiar obsession. In the world of the show, he is the man holding the fate of the show about nothing that Jerry and George are trying to sell to the network. Bob Balaban portrayed Russell Dalrymple at the age of 47, first appearing in 1992 during season 4, and taking part in 5 key episodes of the storyline about the television pilot. Before stepping into Seinfeld, Balaban was hardly a new face. He had already spent more than 2 decades working on Broadway and in Hollywood, gaining attention in films such as Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and even earning a Tony nomination for his stage work. For that reason, the role of Russell Dalrymple was not a stepping stone, but rather something like a perfect cameo, a seasoned actor bringing his own distinct cleverness into a sitcom that was at its peak. Interestingly, the character of Russell was built partly on real-life NBC executive Warren Littlefield, and somewhat ironically, a few years later, Balaban actually portrayed Littlefield himself in the film The Late Shift. Behind that brief appearance, Balaban went on to maintain an impressively long career, working not only as an actor, but also as a director and producer. Born in 1945, he is still active in the arts well into his 80s, making him one of Hollywood's most enduring and versatile figures. Number 8. Next is a very special character, Cosmo Kramer. Cosmo Kramer is the chaotic gust of wind that blows apart every bit of order in Jerry Seinfeld's apartment, the lanky neighbor with the towering hair, the legendary sliding entrances through the door, and countless crazy business ideas. The character carries a wild, unexpected, and completely unpredictable energy, becoming Seinfeld's signature source of physical comedy. Michael Richards portrayed Kramer when the show began in 1989, at which time he was about 40 years old, and he ultimately appeared in nearly all 180 episodes of the series, which ran until 1998. Before entering the world of Seinfeld, Richards was already a familiar face in the Los Angeles comedy scene, performing stand-up and appearing on the sketch show Fridays in the early 1980s. But it was Kramer that turned him into a television icon. Richards' extreme physical comedy, the awkward galloping runs, dramatic door crashes, and exaggerated panic attacks helped him win 3 Emmy Awards for Outstanding Supporting Actor. Sadly, behind that glory came a major fall. In 2006, a video capturing Richards unleashing a racially offensive outburst at a comedy club in Los Angeles spread across the internet, nearly freezing his career for many years. Today, at the age of 76, Richards lives a fairly private life with his wife, Beth Skip, and family occasionally appearing in small projects or reminiscing about Seinfeld. Despite the controversial turns in his life, Cosmo Kramer is still considered one of the most unforgettable television comedy characters of the 1990s. Number 9. Teri Hatcher as Sidra Holland. Sidra Holland arrived like a seductive breeze blowing straight into Jerry's complicated world. A beautiful, confident, and slightly mysterious woman who managed to make the entire group of friends argue over one strange question: natural or artificial? It was this very character that gave birth to one of the most famous lines in sitcom history: "They're real and they're spectacular." At the time, Teri Hatcher was about 28 years old. She first appeared in 1993 in the episode The Implant, and later returned for 2 more episodes, a total of 3 appearances spanning from season 4 to the series finale in 1998. Before stopping by Seinfeld, Hatcher was still climbing the early slope of her career, with guest roles on television shows such as MacGyver and The Love Boat. The role of Sidra, though brief, became a breakout moment that audiences never forgot, an interesting stepping stone before she truly achieved global fame as Lois Lane in Lois and Clark. Behind that spotlight, Hatcher's life also contains darker chapters. She publicly revealed that she had been abused as a child and later helped prosecutors bring the perpetrator to court many years afterward. Born in 1964, Teri Hatcher is now 61 years old and still active in the entertainment industry, while also writing books, cooking, and creating personal content. But for many viewers, just one spectacular line from Sidra, Holland, is enough to make her name an immortal piece of Seinfeld memory. Number 10. Debra Messing as Beth Lukner. Beth is the kind of woman who seems to step straight out of a perfect Manhattan party. Beautiful, intelligent, a successful doctor, and initially appearing with a calm, confident demeanor that immediately attracts Jerry. This character carries the energy of a waiting love affair, someone whose marriage Jerry and Elaine almost stand on the sidelines observing while waiting for an opportunity. Debra Messing played Beth at just 27 years old, first appearing in 1996 in the episode The Wait Out and returning in 1997 in the Yada Yada. A total of only 2 episodes, but enough to leave a small yet memorable mark in the ironic comedic world of the series. At that time, Messing was still an emerging television face after the sitcom Ned and Stacey and a few guest roles, so Seinfeld was like a brief stop along the journey before her breakthrough. Just 2 years later, she became a global star with the role of Grace Adler in Will, and Grace a performance that earned her an Emmy Award and many major nominations. Behind the spotlight, Messing's life has also gone through many changes. She married producer Daniel Zellman in 2000, had a son, and later divorced in 2016. Today, at 57, Debra Messing remains active in film and television and is remembered as one of the most iconic faces of American television comedy, while Beth Lukner in Seinfeld remains an interesting snapshot from the early days of her career. Number 11. Jerry Stiller as Frank Costanza. Frank Costanza storms into the world of Seinfeld like a small hurricane, a hot-tempered, blunt father who is always ready to explode within a single line of dialogue. With shouts of serenity now, or bizarre ideas like the holiday festivus, Frank became one of the most memorable supporting characters of the series, a source of chaotic energy that instantly made any scene he appeared in come alive. Jerry Stiller brought this character to life when he was about 66 years old at the time of his first appearance in 1993, and he appeared in 27 episodes throughout the final 6 seasons of the series. Interestingly, the role of Frank came to Stiller fairly late in his career. Before that, he had been famous since the 1960s as part of the comedy duo Stiller and Miara with his wife Ann Mira, appearing many times on American television. But it was Seinfeld that brought him a new generation of audiences and helped revive his career spectacularly. Behind that success was a strong family life. Stiller married Ann Mira in 1954 and was the father of actor Ben Stiller. Jerry Stiller passed away on May 11, 2020, at the age of 92, leaving behind the image of one of the most memorable shouting dads in sitcom history. Number 12. Next is Estelle Harris as Estelle Costanza. Estelle Costanza is the emotional storm of the Costanza family, the mother with the shrill voice, hot temper, constantly yelling at her husband, and son, yet making audiences laugh every time she appears. She is remembered as one of the most chaotic sitcom moms in American television, frequently arguing with Frank and terrifying George. Estelle Harris took on the role when she was about 64 years old, beginning in 1992, and appearing in 27 episodes of the series until it ended in 1998. Before Seinfeld, Harris was not a major star. She started her career quite late after raising her 3 children, mainly performing in small stage productions and appearing in numerous television commercials before landing guest roles on series such as Night Court and Law & Order. Seinfeld became the turning point that made her a familiar face on American television. Behind the legendary shout of serenity now was a rather private life. Harris married Cy Harris in 1952 and stayed with him for nearly 7 decades. They had 3 children and many grandchildren. After Seinfeld ended, she continued to leave her mark with the voice role of Mrs. Potato Head in the Toy Story film series. Estelle Harris passed away on April 2, 2022, just a few weeks before her 94th birthday, leaving behind the image of one of the most loud but lovable mothers in sitcom history. Number 13. Liz Sheridan as Helen Seinfeld. Helen Seinfeld in Seinfeld is the image of the typical Jewish mother, both overly worried and absolutely proud of her son Jerry. She always appears with warm energy, but also a sense of control, famous for her nearly legendary question, "How could anyone not like him? How could anyone not like my son?" Liz Sheridan took on the role when she was about 61 years old, beginning in 1990, and appearing in 21 episodes, spanning all 9 seasons of the show. One of the very few supporting characters to appear in every season of the series. Before entering the world of Seinfeld, Sheridan had already had a long artistic journey, starting out as a dancer and singer in nightclubs in the 1950s, then gradually appearing on the Broadway stage and in numerous television series. She had previously been known to audiences for her role as the neighbor Raquel Ochmonek in the sitcom ALF, before becoming Jerry's mother, the role that firmly tied her name to the history of American sitcoms. Behind the image of that gentle mother lies a little-known personal detail in her youth. Sheridan had a deep romance with film legend James Dean, a story she later recounted in her memoir, Dizzy and Jimmy. Liz Sheridan passed away on April 15, 2022 in New York, just a few days after her 93rd birthday. She left behind a legacy as one of the most gentle and memorable sitcom mothers in American television history. Number 14 is Barney Martin as Morty Seinfeld, the hot-tempered yet lovable retired father of comedian Jerry, one of the most familiar supporting faces in the world of Seinfeld. With his nagging personality, extreme frugality, and hilariously petty arguments, Morty brought the kind of classic Jewish dad energy that audiences never forgot. Barney Martin breathed life into the character when he was about 68 years old, when he first took on the role in 1991, appearing in a total of 20 episodes until the series ended in 1998. In fact, Martin was not a newcomer when he arrived on Seinfeld. He already had more than 3 decades of experience as a stage and television actor, appearing in films such as The Producers and Arthur, as well as numerous Broadway musicals. He was even the first performer to sing the song Mr. Cellophane in the musical Chicago. But what surprises many people is that before stepping onto the stage, he had spent 20 years working as a detective with the New York Police Department, only entering show business by chance, thanks to his talent for humorous storytelling during presentations. Behind the image of the difficult father on screen was actually a rather quiet life. Martin married Catherine Martin in 1942 and lived with her until the end of his life. He passed away on March 21, 2005, from lung cancer at the age of 82. Even so, for television audiences, Morty Seinfeld remains an immortal image. A father who is both grumpy and lovable, helping shape the unique humor of this classic sitcom. Number 15. Next is the character Crazy Joe Davola, one of the most memorable supporting characters of the series, an unstable, muscular, and intimidating writer who constantly harbors a bizarre grudge against Jerry Seinfeld and makes the whole group of friends live in fear of being watched. The character brings an energy that is both humorous and unsettling, especially in scenes where Joe practices martial arts, leaves threatening messages, or appears dressed in the clown costume from the opera Pagliacci. The role was played by Peter Crombie when he was about 40 years old, first appearing in 1992 in Season 4 of Seinfeld, and appearing in a total of 5 episodes, a short run, but enough to turn Joe Davola into a legendary guest character of the series. Before joining Seinfeld, Crombie was not yet a major star. He was a stage actor trained at the Yale School of Drama and often appeared in small roles on television. However, it was Joe Davola that helped audiences remember his towering 1.88-meter presence in the sitcom world. After that, he continued acting in films such as C7N Natural Born Killers and The Doors. Behind the screen, Crombie kept a rather private life. He married Nadine Kiner in 1991 but divorced in 1997. Sadly, the actor passed away on January 10, 2024 in Palm Springs after a short illness at the age of 71, leaving behind the memory of one of the most crazy characters ever to appear in the world of Seinfeld. A character impossible to overlook. Elaine Benes, the whirlwind of sharp, slightly unruly energy from Seinfeld, the curly-haired woman with razor-sharp side glances, the legendary awkward dance, and a talent for turning the most ordinary situations into comedic disasters. In the world of Jerry, George, and Kramer, Elaine is remembered as the only woman sharp enough to both blend into the group and disrupt their familiar rhythm. Julia Louis-Dreyfus stepped into the role in 1990 at just 28 years old and remained with the show for all 9 seasons, appearing in 171 episodes of the hit series that aired from 1989 to 1998. Before Seinfeld, she had already been known from the comedy program Saturday Night Live, but it was Elaine Benes who turned Louis-Dreyfus into one of television's leading comedic faces. The role earned her an Emmy Award, along with numerous nominations and major honors throughout the 1990s. Behind that spotlight, however, lies a little-known story. Right when Seinfeld was beginning, she experienced a devastating shock when she suffered a late miscarriage and had to be hospitalized due to an infection, a painful memory she only shared many years later. After Seinfeld concluded in 1998, Louis-Dreyfus continued to build a rare and remarkable career with successful series such as The New Adventures of Old Christine and Veep. Born in 1961, she is now 65 years old and is still considered one of the greatest comedic actresses in the history of American television, a legacy that began with a girl named Elaine who kept television's New York laughing for an entire decade. Which cast member's story surprised you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If there's a movie you'd like us to explore in the next video, don't hesitate to leave its name. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any new content. Thank you for watching, and see you again in the next episode.